Hey YouTube, welcome back to Melly Loves Death Metal. I got kind of a different video today. So I was just, scrolling Instagram as I often do, and there was an ad in my feed for Loudwire's best death metal albums of 2024. Now I don't really follow Loudwire or read this site like at all. Every once in a while something will pop up and I'm curious and I'll click on it and look at it. But for the most part, I was shocked to see that they had a death metal list because I was looking. I wanted to like verify here if this was something that they don't really do often. And I did not see another list. Like they didn't do a list last year for just death metal. Like obviously, yes, metal. They focus on metal and rock music. Um, but I don't think that they've actually like done just a dedicated death metal list. At least not in recent years. I don't know. There was like 80 pages of when I searched death metal. I was trying to see like if I could find another list that they made, and I don't think I was able to find one. But they did one for 2024, and I figured let's talk about it today. We did the Decibel one. We'll do the Loudwire one. Again, I don't follow this channel or this page, site, whatever you want to call it, blog, news site very frequently at all. Every once in a while, something will pop up in my news feeds and stuff, and like in Twitter and Instagram, and I'll go back and I'll read them. And they do a lot of stuff like this, like best thrash albums from the 80s and like the best metal albums from the 1990s and stuff like that. Like, they do a lot of articles like that, but in regards to like specific just death metal, for like new releases, I thought this was kind of cool to see. And based off of this cover image right here, they're definitely covering some stuff I wouldn't expect them to, like Sivarus is mentioned right here. So let's see. It says basically these are their best death metal albums in 2024. Um, the 2020s overall have been one of the most remarkable periods for death metal history, and I agree with that because there was a very big resurgence in death metal, and old school death metal, copy clones, and all that stuff, and we've talked about that thousands of times on here. Um, this site is god awful with the amount of ads on here. Like there's a you can't see below underneath my face, but there's like a video playing, and I'm gonna X off of it. But man, they really have a lot of advertisements on here, probably to pay for things. So, like, there's a New York Times ad right here, and the Uggs and stuff like that. So, just in general, the site's an eyesore for that reason. But I've worked in this field in the past in my career, so I understand like these advertisements they pay the bills. So, at the same time, I understand that. So anyway, so it starts off with, and I don't think they didn't rank them; they just put them in a list. So there's not like a top 20 or anything like that. It's just these are just the ones that they picked. So number one, or the first one they talk about is Vitriol, Suffer and Become, which was released back in January. So it's one of the first releases that notably I took a liking to and have talked about several times on here and still really enjoy and will definitely be on my year-end list. And it also talks about Matt Kilner and his band Nithing, which is awesome. So whoever is following death metal is following death metal. Whoever this writer is, I guess I could have looked and see who it was. I don't know. Anyway, so Vitriol, yeah, that's a great pick. Century Media, so it's a fairly larger metal release for that reason. And that was what I would expect to see on a list like this for a site like this. And then it goes to Spectral Voice with Sparagmos, which is on Dark Descent Records. And I actually, honestly, like Dark Descent is still relatively an underground death metal label. Yeah, they're one of the larger ones, and a lot of people know them. But like, if you're just getting into death metal, like if you're a newbie who's into like some sort of metal music, but you don't really follow death metal closely, Dark Descent probably is not one that you'll list off the top of your tongue. Like you'll probably say Nuclear Blast or Metal Blade Records. So it's cool to see this on here because Dark Descent's one of my favorite labels. So yeah, I expect to see this on a lot of people's lists this year. Again, another one that came out very early in the year. Now this is the one that I joked about. I wrote a community post the other day. This will not be on my year-end list. Job for a Cowboy, Moon Healer. I'm not a fan of this band at all. I don't like their music. I've seen them live a couple of times. Didn't do anything for me. So a lot of people have hyped this up this year. They've told me to listen to it. They've asked me to talk about it and review it and whatever else. And I've been simply just been like, no. I've listened to it just because I was curious because there's a lot of hype around it and still does nothing for me. So you won't see this on my year-end list, but it's totally okay if you like the album. This one made me really happy. We all know how much I love Brodequin's new album, Harbinger of Woe. This came out back in March, and I was actually really happy to see this on here. This is a fairly like this is a sound of death metal that I would not expect to be like a really big gateway death metal album for people. But I was really happy to see this on here. This is obviously one of my favorites this year. I've talked about it and showed it several times, and I still listen to it all the time. So this made me happy to see. And then, like, I'm honestly gonna be shocked with you. Like, Sivarus, Maze Envy, $20 spin. Sivarus has always been an underground death metal band to me. They started off on like Sewer Rot Records and stuff like that, and now they're on $20 spin. They did release a phenomenal album this year, so this makes me happy. And some people will come in the comments and be like, "Whoa, $20 spin is commercial death metal now." Blah blah blah. They're really big, and yeah, they've gotten really popular, but still, everything that they release, not everybody's going to recognize. Like, they're going to probably more talk about the things that are already well known, like Holder and Tomb Mold and like stuff like that. Sivarus was a band that not a lot of people knew about. And they released this album, and I'm seeing a lot of praise for it. So that makes me really happy because this is one of my favorite releases this year. So simply phenomenal. Coffins, I'm not surprised to see Coffins on here. Relapse Records, again, one of the bigger death metal labels. Coffins this is, I think, their second release on Relapse. Anyway, they've been around forever. This is a really good album as well. Sinister Oath. I actually surprisingly haven't seen too many people talk about this album on their year-end list, and there's been several that have already released them on YouTube. Yeah, there's like 4 people that I've already watched their year-end, and this was not on there. So happy to see this on there. Immediately one that I didn't really listen to a whole lot this year. I liked it when it first came out. Have not really paid much attention to it since, which is sad because I do really enjoy several of their other releases, and I've always been a fan of this band. But just a lot came out this year, so I need to go back and revisit this. But it is a good album from what I remember when it first came out. But unfortunately, kind of fell to the wayside for me. This one again, another $20 release. Witch Vomit, like. I feel like these are still like culty underground bands that people would follow and not necessarily be on a site like Loudwire, who again, like I said, focuses more on the like commercially well-known metal and rock bands, like Slayer, Pantera, Slipknot, you know, shit like that, Motley Crue, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, stuff like that, Metallica. Like, that's what I associate Loudwire with. So to see, like, Witch Vomit, Sivarus, stuff like that on here, it's like, all right. I agree. This is a phenomenal album. Will be on my year-end list. We've talked about it several times. And then we go to Necrot again. I feel like Necrot has gotten really big, or at least a little bit more well-known and popular. I don't know how big. I haven't seen, like, their, like, growth in regards to, like, engagement and, like, views and stuff like that. But I know that, like, this is definitely a band where if somebody came in and said, "Hey, I want to listen to a new death metal band," yes, send me the oldies and the goodies, like Death and Suffocation and stuff like that, but also send me newer death metal, I would definitely send them Necrot. Like, I think this is a great band to get started with, and I absolutely love this album, so I was happy to see this on there. Okay, so here's what I totally expected to see. I expect a site like this to just say Deicide. It's legacy death metal band, one of the most well-known death metal bands. We all know how I feel about this album, so I'm just going to move on because I'm tired of talking about it. Gatecreeper, again, one that I expected to see on a list like this, on a site like this. That's not a shot at Gatecreeper. It's just I think they're probably one of the most well-known death metal bands right now. They're very popular. They've gotten very big. They're on Nuclear Blast, which is like one of the largest metal labels. And again, another great album I really enjoyed this year. So yeah. Wasn't surprised to see this on here. So there are some on here that I wasn't surprised, like Deicide and Gatecreeper. This one I was shocked. I was shocked to see Sam Pantley on here. Another $20 Spain one. This is the third one now. This is how my year-end list is going to be too. I'm going to have a lot of their releases on probably within my top 20. I love this album. Amazing death doom band. And I was shocked to see this on here. So yeah, awesome, Loudwire. So far, your list is going really well. And then Ulcerate, Cutting the Throat of God. Again, yeah, they're a very well-known band, but I wouldn't expect, I just would have never thought that this would be on Loudwire's, like, list. It is a death metal list, so yeah, okay, maybe. Like, obviously, this is one of the best releases to come out this year, hands down. It is going to be a lot of people's favorites, but I've already seen it on several people's lists. And this is Deborah Morty Productions. And they're a fairly larger label, especially internationally. So, yeah. Again, I agree. This is a great album, one of the best ones. Hyperdontia was the other one that I was shocked about. I didn't expect to see this on here, and to be honest with you, I've watched maybe 3 or 4 journalists, and this has not been on any of those people's. The fuck is wrong with you guys? Because this is an awesome album. Another Dark Descent Records release, also MSUO, so that was their split release. But yeah, Harvest of Malevolence, awesome album. Hyperdontia, one of the best modern death metal bands right now. 200 Stab Wounds, I expected to see this on here again because it's a Metal Blade release, a larger metal label, with the larger, more well-known death metal bands. I mean, Cannibal Corpse is not Metal Blade, so I expect this. 200 Stab Wounds has gotten very popular, and that's good. I'm happy. I love this album. It's going to be on my list as well. Another $20 been released, Fulci. And Fulci has gotten big in the death metal scene. They have a very solid following. They have a very cult-like fan base. And with them releasing an album on $20 been, I think that's only expanded it more. Duckface Killings, I've seen this on a couple people's lists already. People have talked about it several times. It's got a lot of high praise, and I agree it's a great album. So I was happy to see this on here as well. $20 been just killing it this year, and I think that their reach and their popularity has just exponentially grown this year because of all the quality releases that they've put out. Dark Twang, oh my god, Dark Tranquility. Wow, End Time Signals. I don't like this band, so I've never even heard this album. The last time I listened to a album by this band was I don't remember, one of their first albums. So, yeah, just not my thing. So, Flesh God Apocalypse Opera, another one of my favorites this year. Still listen to it a lot. Nuclear Blast. So, I'm not surprised to see this on here either. I love this album. So, you'll be hearing more about that. And then Nile. On Napalm, I'm not shocked to see Nile on here as well. Again, best death metal albums, Loudwire. They're picking a legacy death metal band here, but this is a simply phenomenal album and one of my favorites, and I'll be getting more into detail about this in another video. We're working on another video around this with a couple of other people, so more on that soon. But yeah, Nile, awesome. And then Skeletal Remains. Damn, how long is this list? All right, Skeletal Remains, Fragments of the Ageless. Came out in August. This has been one of my favorites all year. I agree. Another Century Media release. Again, one of the larger metal labels. So I wasn't surprised to see this on here. I do think that that's a phenomenal album. Again, the Black Dahlia Murder. I was not shocked to see this on here. Metal Blade release, Servitude. We all know how I feel about that one. This one made me really happy. Rip to Shreds Sanchi on Relapse. Yes, Relapse is one of the larger metal labels. Yes, everybody knows who Relapse are, but the fact of the matter is not everybody's going to listen to a band like Rip to Shreds. I still think that they still have a relatively, underground following, but now I think this album in particular probably has made them have a little bit more popularity added to them, which makes me happy because this is a phenomenal album. I love everything that Andrew puts out, so this is awesome. I love that album so much too. I've been listening to it a ton. Not surprised to see Blood Incantation here. Again, another Century Media release. Blood Incantation, I think, is probably, aside from like Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, 200 Stab Wounds, and now Undeath, I think Blood Incantation is like one of the most popular death metal bands right now. Like, newbies know who they are. People who are just in the metal space know who they are. So I'm not shocked to see this on here. And then here's Undeath, More Insane. So these are albums I'm not surprised to see. Now, Undeath is a little bit more underground, I would say. They did get pretty popular with their last release on Prosthetic. So, but I'm not, surprised. If somebody is honing in on a 2024 death metal list, especially from a standpoint of a page like Loudwire, I'm not surprised to see Undeath on here. And that's not saying anything to Undeath because I love this album and I think it's phenomenal, and it's going to be on my year-end list as well. It's been on a lot of people's already that I've seen, so that's, I'm not surprised. I am surprised to see Gigan on here. I was shocked by this on Willow Tip. I have not talked about this album yet. I will get to it in an update. The record that I got had to be returned because it came damaged, and I just haven't gotten a replacement yet, so it's coming. But this is, this and along with this and Ulcerate, like a pretty like dedicated listen. It's got a lot of like dissonance and just technicalities and to it. It's a very good album. So I was really shocked to see this on here. I feel like this is going to be one of the more underrated, kind of skated under people's radars list this year, especially since it came out in October. So it's later in the year, but yeah, phenomenal release. I was happy to see this on here. Molder was another one I was happy to see on here. We all know how much I love Molder, Prosthetic Records. This will definitely be on mine. I just talked about this recently in an update. Great album, great pick. This one made me fucking happy. Defeated Sanity, and yeah, it's Season to Mist again, one of the more larger metal labels. But Defeated Sanity is a band that I feel like gets often overlooked, especially in the brutal technical death metal scene. They are just underrated. I think up until this year, it feels like now they're finally getting the due that they have just rightly deserved, like the popularity and the growth. Phenomenal album. I have not stopped spinning this ever since I got the record, so I love it. Opeth, I'm not surprised to see on here. I'm not even talk about it. Like, I just know. Like, Opeth has been talked about on Loudwire so many times. So, that's it. That's their list. So how many was that? Like 20 or something? I mean, fairly good list. Out of this whole entire list, what will be on at least my top 20? Several of these. So yeah. Good job, Loudwire. Who wrote this article? I feel like it might be somebody who is close in the scene. Joe Davidia. All right, Joe. Editor-in-chief since 2024, so he's relatively new as a freelance writer. For some reason, I don't know who Joe is, and that's shocking because I generally know, like, the death metal writers, like, at Decibel and, like, all those other pages, so... yeah, so, yeah, like, see, like, here we go. Like, here's Iron Maiden, My Dying Bride, My Chemical Romance. Like, these are the articles that I expect to see on Loudwire, like Spirit Box and Christology, Stained and Breaking Benjamin. Like, that's what I associate Loudwire with, so I was shocked to see to 27. Oh, there we go. 27 best death metal albums 2024. 27. That's an interesting number. So... yeah, I think it's a good list. I mean, there's a couple of things. Oh my God, the ads on here. I get it. You need the ads. I get it. But goddamn, I think this is a really good list. I was actually pleasantly surprised by it. So that is my easy content video for today. Collection update and stuff like that, and some more reviews will be coming this week. And then I just announced a new giveaway. The year-end giveaway, that video is live now, so go ahead and check that out. It'll be annotated up here somewhere, and then in the description. Go enter in on that. Huge giveaway. I'm giving away a ton of CDs and a couple of tapes. And yeah, that's all I have. I hope you guys had a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.